Hello, welcome. My name is Lauren with Lauren Teaches Flute. Thank you for being here. Today we're going to be talking about how to get through phrases on the flute. If you're struggling to play through phrases, how to troubleshoot this, how to figure out what's going on, correct it so that you can play phrases more easily and you can get through phrases if you're struggling. This video is geared towards beginners. I'm thinking about the beginner student in mind when I'm making this video, but certainly a lot of the tips can apply to intermediate and advanced players as well. So before I get into this topic, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel. I would love to have you here. Also know that I do offer private online Skype lessons, so if you want to work one-on-one with me or learn more info about that, I'll leave a link to that in the description. So let's get into this video topic. So this was something that I received a comment about, so one of my viewers, thank you, mentioning that they are struggling to play through phrases. And so this video is for you, and the first thing I want to say is that it could be for many reasons. So I'm going to share with you the reasons that I feel are the most common reasons that people struggle to play through phrases when they're starting to play the flute, but certainly there are more things it could be. So if you're still wondering about this, I do recommend getting feedback from someone, working one-on-one with someone so that they can tell you exactly what you need for this. But I'm going to share the most common things in this video. First thing is breath control. It's the very first thing. So are you not able to play through phrases because you're running out of air? So if this is the case, then I would simply add a breath control exercise to your warm-up, and I'll share one with you in this video. So I'm going to set the metronome to 60, and I'm going to do this exercise on a B in the staff. So I'm choosing a note in the staff because it's easy, it doesn't require a lot of air, and it's just an easy range to start with. So B in the staff, and I'm going to hold it. In this video, to save time, I'm just going to hold it for 8 seconds. And that can be a good first goal for a beginner, is 8 seconds. But know that you can graduate to 15 seconds, 25 seconds, 35, 45, even 55 seconds holding one note. So 8 seconds is a good place to start, but you can really lengthen that over time. You can make that a longer and longer amount of time as you go. But for today, I'm going to do 8 seconds. And first, I'm going to take a good breath. So a good breath, how I would recommend doing this exercise is to exhale for 4 counts and then inhale for 4 counts. I like letting out all my air first because then I can more easily, it's like, how do I become like a vacuum. Like when I exhale out all my air, it's really easy to get a lot of air in after doing that. So that's why I recommend doing this. 4 counts out, 4 counts in, and then you're going to save your air when you play. So I'll talk about what that is after I play this note, but I'm just going to demonstrate this breath control exercise first. So 4 out, 4 in, so I hardly use any air on the first 8 counts, but I'm saving my air, I'm not spilling my air, so that's part of it, is learning how to use less air. So that's all has to do with making a smaller aperture. Perhaps you might want to bring your bottom lip forward and just have the aperture be kind of like the size of a little swizzle straw, and just very gently let out just a little stream of air. You can also practice doing this by saying S. So exhale, inhale, and then just saying to see what it feels like to let the air out gradually. Also, when I'm letting the air out gradually here, I'm staying expanded. There's a lot of different things to talk about. So when I breathe in, so on the inhale, you don't want it to just be the stomach that expands. I kind of feel like my stomach and my lungs and my back, it's kind of all expanding together like a sponge filling with water. So I feel like I get taller, and I don't constrict myself in any way when I'm inhaling. So it's really weird if you just do the stomach. It almost feels like I'm gonna pull a muscle in my shoulders or my neck. So I let myself expand and get taller, and my shoulders like get taller as well, but I'm not tensing my shoulders like this. My shoulders are just melting down here. You know, I'm not tensing, but I'm not constricting myself either. I'm just letting myself get taller and expand without doing this or doing anything funky that's making me feel uncomfortable or like I'm gonna pull a muscle. Definitely just let yourself expand and relax. So that's all in the inhale. And then when you're letting the air out, again, it's about saving your air. An analogy I like to use for this is a car tire. So if you open the little cap to your tire of your car, you know the tire doesn't just completely deflate automatically. And that's how we want to be. We want to stay expanded for as long as possible, like the air in a car tire. So that's what I want you to think about when you're doing this exercise. So don't contract or let all the air out or let your chest sink right away. Stay expanded like that car tire for as long as you can. And then when you need to, start gradually feeling your abs engage, and engage your abs until you run out of air. And then at the very end, you'll notice your chest starts to get, you know, a little lower. It starts to collapse a little bit. So I was like talking and I wasn't breathing, but I was kind of like going through that feeling of what it feels like to run out of air on the flute. So those are the things you want to feel. So you just save your air for as long as possible. Stay expanded. And then when you need to, engage the stomach, engage the stomach, engage the stomach. And then when you can no longer engage the stomach anymore, then you let out that last little bit of air in your chest, okay? When you're playing a note. And keep track of your progress. So maybe at first you can only get to 8 counts. Then maybe you can try for 10 or 12. Eventually you'll be able to get to 16 counts, and then eventually 20, and so on and so forth. So add a breath control exercise into your warm-up, and that can certainly help you play longer phrases. The next reason that you may not be able to play through phrases on the flute is because of a hand position that is inconsistent. So let's say when you go from C to D, maybe your flute moves around like this, or you're like changing the angle of your flute when you're moving between certain notes. So if you feel like the flute is becoming unstable in your hands, I would recommend, I know I made a video about how to hold the flute, so I'll leave a link to that video in the description below if you feel like this is you, if you feel like the flute is unstable in your hands. Check that video out. And also, I would look at the notes look at the note changes that feel unstable. For example, C to D might be an awkward one, since they're pretty much opposite. Look in a mirror and see if you can keep your flute still. Okay, and see if you're moving your flute around. Another thing, so definitely check the video out if you want more information on how to hold the flute properly and securely. So I won't go into that too much in this video. But another thing you can do to secure the flute in your hands is to use counter pressure with the hands. So that's left hand back, right hand forward. Just a little bit of counter pressure to keep the flute stable in your hands. Not too much to where you're pushing the lip plate against your chin, but just a little bit to secure the flute and to secure your hand position and feel a sense of steadiness when you hold the flute. All right, so usually if it's unstable, something's happening with the thumb, maybe your thumb is out, and that would create instability and like difficulty holding the flute. So keep your thumb back or make sure it's on the pad of the thumb. There's different ways to position your thumb, but just keep it back like this. Also, sometimes people have the flute too high on their left hand, like it's down here almost, but it needs to be right there. So resting right here on the left index finger, right on that first joint, right here, so that you're supporting the flute there and it's not down like this. That can also create instability. So make sure you have a steady hand position and then work on the challenging finger changes. So C to D is a good one to just go back and forth for a while and develop that feeling of having a steady, secure hand position when you're moving between challenging finger changes. Practice the finger changes themselves, even if it's just between two notes. So the third reason you may be struggling to get through phrases on the flute is that you're learning music that may just be too hard. So let's say you're a beginning flutist and you've been playing for a little bit, and then all of a sudden you start learning a piece that's like a page long and it has lots of high notes and some rhythms that are really unfamiliar to you, and it's just a lot of components all at once, and it's a big jump from what you've played before. So in that case, if that's what's going on, my first suggestion would be to start smaller. Start with something more manageable and then gradually work up to that piece. So one book, I'm going to recommend one book that I really, really love, that I feel is excellent for developing your confidence on sight reading, rhythm, reading music, and just getting comfortable with playing the flute and playing melodies. It's called The Really Easy Flute Book. And the reason I like this book so much is it's a very, very gradual. There's been a lot of beginner books that I've seen that are really, really gradual in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they just jump up to some really difficult things, and then they get really easy again, and then they get really difficult, and it can be discouraging to go through those books as a beginner. So I really love this book. It's just solo pieces. It's just, I believe it's 21 solo pieces that are very gradual, very progressive, and very manageable. And so I love that book. I've also, for my beginners, I'm using the method book called A New Tune a Day by Neb Bennett. I really like that as well. I like using those two books together. But that's an excellent book to work through one piece after the other, gradually getting to the 21st piece in that book. And another book that's really good for beginners, I'll suggest another one. It's Solo Pieces for the Beginning Flutist by Mel Bay. This is another one that might be good after working through the pieces in a really easy flute book. So I actually gave my last really easy flute book to a student, so I ordered another one, which is why I can't show it, but I probably already showed it on the screen. So start with gradual method books or solo books for beginners, and then try that more advanced piece of music. But if you can't do that and you have to learn this piece of music that's got a lot of challenging stuff in it, then what I would do is I would really see if I could just play through it and address maybe the 3 weakest points. So maybe it's rhythm, maybe it's uncertainty with how the rhythms are being played, maybe it's a bunch of high notes and you feel unconfident or not trusting of your high notes. Maybe it's a bunch of low notes and that's a little unstable. So whatever it is, write it down and then see if you can come up with warm-ups for those particular areas of your playing. So if it's high notes, put a high note warm-up with the notes that you struggle with in your warm-up every day. If it's rhythm, take those rhythms, write them on one line, and be able to say them, sing them, speak them with a metronome and get really confident and secure on just the rhythms. If it's the low notes, likewise, add a low notes exercise to your warm-up. So that's what I would do, and then I would allow the warm-up to build my confidence in playing that piece. And I would also divide that piece into sections and just work on one section at a time. A section might be a line of music, a section might be half a line of music. So just break it up into little manageable bits and learn them very intentionally and accurately. So that's what I would say as my third tip. So just assess if it's learning something that's a big step from what you learned in the past. If so, can you just start and build gradually to music that is more and more advanced? Or if you have to play it, then add some things into your warm-up to help build your confidence on where your weaknesses might be in that piece. The final thing I want to say is give you a process. So if you're struggling to get through phrases, a big reason why this happens is breath control. Anytime that I've struggled with getting through phrases, it's been because of breath control usually. So if that's the case, I'm going to give you an example. This is 24 Petite Studies by Marcel Moïse. I'm going to use the second exercise in this book. Let's say I want to play this at 60, the first 4 measures in one breath, but I'm struggling with it. So a process I would use for this problem is instead of playing it at 60 right away, I would speed it up to maybe 100 and see if I can play the first 4 measures in one breath at 100. So I'd see if I could play at 100 beats per minute through the first 4 measures in one breath. And if that's easy, I gradually lower it. Maybe I lower it to 92. Then I try it again, and if that's easy, then I'll lower it to 84, and so on and so forth until I gradually work my way down to 60 beats per minute, and I'm able to play it at that tempo. That's one process I like to use if I'm struggling with breath control. The other thing I could do with this is see that the first phrase is 12 beats, and so then in my breath control exercise in my warm-up that I showed you at the beginning of this video, I would try to be getting at least to 12 beats in that, if not 16. 16 or more than 16 would actually be better, so that when you go back and play it in real music or try to get through 12 beats in an actual piece of music, hopefully it starts to become much easier to control your breath for 12 counts or allow your breath to sustain over 12 counts of music at 60. So that is one process I really like to use if I'm running out of air and wanting to build up my breath control on certain phrases. So I hope this video was helpful and insightful to you. Thank you for being here. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more flute videos like this one. Thanks so much for being here, and I will see you in another video very soon. Until next time, take care. Bye.